Hi, AP HuG students. So sorry it took me a minute to go live. I'm trying to get Pear Deck to work. This is my first time using it. So if you can hear me, put something in the chat. You guys can keep talking about, Mary's geometry test about circles and chord arcs if you want to, while I try to get Pear Deck to work here. Yep, all right. Oh, no problem for doing the stream, guys. You seemed to want it after Amanda's cram session last night, so we decided to make this one a free session so that anybody could come to it. It's going to be like the part 2 to the cram, but we wanted to make like a free review session. All right. I'm trying to get you guys the Pear Deck link now. Victoria, you're going to get points for this session as long as you make sure that you're watching this on the Fiveable website. Like, it should be the app.fiveable.me page. I just put the big green call to action button there. So hopefully you see that so we can get started with this. Oh, Senora, this is your first time ever live with me? Wow. I feel like I've seen you before, but I guess I haven't, So during quarantine, I have discovered that I have an obsession with like emojis and using my Bitmoji everywhere. So if you've ever watched my human geography streams, you're going to see increasingly from like March 17th to now, I've added more and more Bitmojis and emojis to my stream. So I hope that you have seen that. All right, so let me see how many of you guys are getting into the thing. It doesn't tell me how many students I have. Gosh, I don't like that. Okay, so I hope you guys can get into the Pear Deck thing. Let me test it out just to make sure. And I'm about to get started. All right, so the Pear Deck link works. Woohoo! Okay. So as you can see, my Bitmoji is running away from school, so I don't get the coronavirus right here. We're running away from my desk to go home to do school, and then I'm working from home on my laptop just like I always am. So today I'm going to try to do 2 FRQs with you. I have 4 options, and it looks like you guys voted for agriculture and then the culture and political FRQ here. So there. Yes, this one. Okay, that's a good matchup because that's a 25-minute and a 15-minute FRQ. So we're going to be doing 2 FRQs, and I'm going to post the rest on the I'll try to post the other ones on the community so you guys can do that, and I'll try to give you feedback before Tuesday. So, let's see. Let's keep going. So I'm Harrison Burnside. If you don't know me, I made a 5 on the AP Human Geography exam last year, and this is the part 2 to Amanda's FRQ review last night for the cram session. If you have a cram pass, it'd be awesome if you could go watch that. If not, it's okay. That's what this is for. This is our free AP Human Geography cram session. So here is our weekly stream calendar that you see at the beginning of every stream. I'm pretty sure that you've seen this about 15,000 times. It's nothing new. This is what we've been using all along. So, let us move on. So follow us at ThinkFiveable on TikTok, Twitter, Insta, and YouTube. And yes, TikTok? Well, whatever. So I'm just kind of reading the chat here just for fun, but it looks like some of you are thinking that you're not going to get a 5, but if you keep coming to these sessions and you have a cram pass and you're doing all the stuff, you should be fine. The Fiveable side of the force is a pathway to abilities that some may consider unnatural. Wow. TikTok? We don't know her. I really hope you guys aren't spending too much time on TikTok, but today I think I'm just going to try to get into the first sample FRQ. So I want to review a few things that Amanda talked about last night with the FRQ task verbs. So technically the College Board does give us this list for AP Human Geography that all of your teachers have access to that has all of these things, but they explain it in a really weird way, so, kind of boring, no. So Amanda and I have put together some other descriptions for you. So for define, you're going to want to, before cut hit comes for me in the chat, I know define is not going to be on your AP exam. I know define is not going to be on your AP exam. Yes, I know. Don't even start with that. you might see an identify. You're probably going to see a describe. You're probably going to see an explain, and you might see a compare. Human geography doesn't love to use compare a lot because, it's kind of, human geography is usually considered a freshman course, and compare is one of the more complex task verbs to use on an FRQ. But you're definitely going to see identify, describe, and explain on your exam. So basically, as this list goes down from the top, it's less specific, and it's this is the easiest part, and then as it goes down, it gets harder. So describe is the medium. This also kind of tells you about how much you should write. I hate giving sentence quotas. I try not to. I try to give as few sentence quotas as I can. But, and I'm also not saying they'll use compare on this year's exam. I'm not saying that. But they could, because they could use anything on this exam. The only thing that they're not going to use on the human geography exam that they have in the past is the task verb discuss, because they've taken that off the required list this year. So let me read this question in the chat from, if you want to pronounce your name phonetically for me, I'll pronounce it right every time. Your initials are GR. Quick question. Do we take advantage of the open note thing that we have this year, or should we try to know as much info as we can, just like we're taking a normal AP test? Okay, so that question is really complicated, and it's on a student-by-student basis. But I really don't recommend using your notes during the exam. So the only thing that I recommend is if you have, I don't have one with me. Okay, you can just use this. So if you have a note card that's this size, and you just write a few things on it, this is fine. If you write a few pieces of information on a note card like this, you don't write it in tiny 2-point size font text. You don't write it your teacher says you can have one note card on your open note exam, so you write the whole study guide. No, that's not what you're doing on this card. This card, you're writing in your normal size font, and you're writing a few things that you think you'll need for the AP exam, and that. But do not come and pull out this thing on your AP exam expecting to get a 5 just because you have this right next to you. Do not do this. Do not go searching through this for information during your AP exam. Do not do this. This is a bad example. This is a non-example of what you should do. This you can do. Do not do that. Senor says, course not. Yeah, no, that is not the AP Human Geography prep book, but it is the one that I had on my desk, so that is the one that I showed you. So somebody else said, should I have a world map next to me? You don't have to. The FRQ is probably not going to ask you to identify a country because that's something you could easily Google on Google Maps, so I don't think. Abby says, so what should we put on the note card? So the night before in our cram session, basically, if you see something that we talk about that you don't understand and we don't have time to come answer your question because there are 35 questions in the ask a question section, write that down. Write that topic down, Google it after the session, write down the definition on the note card so you kind of understand the concept a little bit. Maybe write down an examples, just like Sarah just said in the chat. You kind of have to do that. Oh my gosh. Okay, the point of the prep book is not that it was an AP Environmental Science prep book. The point is you're not supposed to be using a prep book on the exam. It's not going to help you. You're going to waste way too much time. These FRQs are going to be more likely than normal. So Maria asked a really good question. Why is agriculture likely to be on the exam? So there are 4 units of AP Human Geography that can be on the exam. So there's unit 2, 3, 4, and 5 that can have an FRQ on the exam. Now you have 2 FRQ on your exam and 4 units. So you don't have to be an expert at math to know that 2 divided by 4 is half. Half is 50%. So there's a 50% chance of every unit appearing on your AP exam. And since agriculture is unit 5, it's a whole unit, there's a 50% chance that agriculture will appear on your AP exam. And I can go over some of my predictions for FRQs at the end of the stream as a motivator to get you to stick around to tell you what you really need to study. But a lot of units do connect. And I do actually have a few, small predictions to help you guys out. So with these FRQ verbs, I have, included defined, just again, because even though College Board says, this is how you write a borect, boring incorrect FRQ. This is how you write a borect FRQ. So for define, you basically just want to turn the prompt around, and it's a question like, define the word de-evolution. So for define, you would just say prompt vocab. So de-evolution is when local governments in a country feel that they need different powers, etc., things like that. With identify, identify questions are probably going to ask you to look at the stimuli, especially if you have a map on your exam. Or they might say, if it's a picture, like the agriculture FRQ that I have out on the community right now is going to be identify the types of farming in each of the pictures. So to do that, you would say picture X is found in the stimuli as wheat. This is not the correct answer, by the way, is wheat farming. So I'm going to try to look at some of these questions in the chat before I keep going. Do we worry about studying the first chapter? I know it's pretty easy, but I don't want to have to waste time if I don't have to. So the only thing that's necessary to know from Unit 1 is basically just like how to analyze a map, how to look at different stimulus, like how to, be a human geographer. Like that's it. Unit 1 is kind of just an intro. It's kind of just teaching like how to look at maps, how to use different scales of analysis. So Sarah asks, for writing FRQ, should our aim to write like a textbook-like answer? Like so our answer or examples are more likely to show up on the rubric? So that's a good question, Sarah, because AP readers can actually give you points for things that aren't on the rubric if they think that your response fits the qualifications. So no, you don't have to write it like a textbook. You can write it in your own tone and voice. Just make sure it's grammatically correct to the best of your abilities. Don't waste too much time on that. Just do it to the best of your abilities. But, write it just like how you would write anything else. I don't care if your tone and voice, they're not going to be judging you on your diction or anything like that. This isn't an English class. This is, an AP social science exam. So Madison asks, I'm rewatching the cram unit reviews and taking short bullet notes and writing vocab and it's all in a notebook. Should I look at this during the test? Okay. So if the test asks you a question, you're like, oh, I remember I wrote this in my notes and it's on page 2, and I just need to go look up this definition so I know how to answer the rest of the FRQ. Then yes, look at your notes. But if you're just like reading through your notes as you see a question, you're like, oh, this was about de-evolution. Did I write that down? What unit was that? That would be unit 4A cram. Like, no, you're wasting too much time. Like most of it should already be in your brain. Most of it should already be something that you have memorized. So you shouldn't have to look at your notes, but if you just brain fart and forget a concept and it's right there in your notes, like almost exactly where it is, then look in your notes. So I hope that helps you answer the question, Mary and Madison. So Rashika asks, tips for analyzing stimuli. It doesn't explicitly say to do so when we should do it. Yeah, so analyzing stimuli, it really just depends on the thing. I'll go through and I'll help you do it on some of these FRQs because they all have stimulus. So you'll be fine with that. So I have a few more questions. Also hope this doesn't happen, but if we really don't know any tips to BS well, if you don't know the answer to the question, just skip it. The College Board has said that there are going to be more parts to this FRQ than you can actually answer like in a normal time frame. On a normal AP Human FRQ, they would give you just enough time to answer all the parts, but on this one, they're going to give you more parts with the same amount of time to answer because there's so much cheating that could happen. We want students to be able to show what they know and not have to know all sorts of different things so we don't peck on them with one FRQ. So, oh my gosh, I'm getting so many questions. Senora Miller, what if our answer is accidentally similar to something online? That's not going to happen. There is about a 1 in 15 million chance of you doing something yourself and it being the exact same thing online. Don't even worry about that. If there's a problem, your teacher can contest it. Fiveable can actually, I don't know. So your teacher can contest your score. Do not worry about it. Sarah says, should I watch some AP World streams to learn more about the context surrounding examples I might use on an FRQ? No. Just watch your AP Human Geography streams, watch your cram sessions, reread your notes, reread your prep book, reread the Fiveable study guides. Fiveable has all of the resources that you're going to need to do well in the AP Human Geography exam in the AP Human Geography section. We're not making it to where you have to go into AP World and AP Euro and AP Gov to go find different, sections. Everything you need for the exam is something that we have a resource for. Yeah, Abby, Amanda posted something with historical examples on the Fiveable blog, fiveable.me. Ann Turner, you asked about how long should an explain answer be. I'm not going to tell you that because I don't give sentence quotas, but it should be more than a sentence. I will tell you that. They do want quality answers over quantity. Charlie says, sorry, supposed to leave answers to some of the parts of the question blank. Okay, so my recommendation, go through the FRQ. If you know the part, type out your answer right there or write out your answer, whatever. Go to the next part. Oh, I don't know that. Skip. I'll come back to it. Then go to the next part. Oh, while I was writing that part, and then you can go back up and answer it if you get etc. So just go through the FRQ and say, okay, I know this, I don't know this, so skip. I know this, I'll answer it right now. Do it like that, Charlie, is my recommendation. So could hit ask, but have same phrase or same examples. It's not going to matter, guys. Like, don't worry about things that you can't control. Do not worry about it. Do not worry about sounding like the online Wikipedia. Do not worry about sounding like you're writing from a textbook. Do not worry about any of that crap. Do not worry about unit 6 and 7 being on your exam. Learn about what you can control. Control what you can control. Do to the best of your abilities. That's the whole point of this exam. Answer everything to the best of your abilities. Maria says, is it true that College Board will be tracking our cookies? I know they're tracking mouse movements, and I think that they're tracking keyboard responses too. So, I mean, just don't do anything that would be considered way too off on the exam. Like, just don't do something really bad. Santosh asked, what did I get? Do you mean like my score on the AP exam? Because I got a 5 on that, but Rashika, I don't recommend outlining my answer because you're not going to have time. Just go for it. Just start typing, get right into it. So College Board could be tracking your cookies. You know, it depends. I don't really know. Rashika says, do you recommend outlining your answer or just going for it? I mean, just go for it. Could hit. Did you guys? I don't know. Could hit. I really cannot help you answer your question. Just okay. Don't go Google something with AP HuG after it, and don't go to the first website you see, and don't copy paste. If you don't know something legitimately and you need to Google it to know what the concept is, Google it. Look at the Quizlet. But by all means, never hit Control-C on your AP exam. Never hit Control-C or Control-V or Control-X, like all of the cut, copy, paste things. Just don't do that. Like, you can have your notes out. I mean, honestly, I would recommend putting something over your webcam in case you're concerned about, like, privacy, because College Board could be monitoring your webcam according to our terms and conditions that they have for the AP exam. So just don't do dumb things. Like, that's all you have to do. Mary says, don't you have to get a 5 to teacher? No, you don't. You have to either pass the exam or demonstrate the ability to teach the content that's on the exam. I'm not going to get in what you have to do to be a Fiveable employee or do anything like that right now because I'm trying to get through these FRQs and I've already wasted 18 minutes on questions. But I'm just going to scroll through these and answer the good questions. Jada, I would recommend spending about 30 seconds just thinking about your answer before you write it, but don't spend time writing it. Maria says, my teachers are telling me that we can't use internet, but some are telling me we can. Which is it? I mean, only use the internet if you very much have to. Like, I just don't recommend it. Keanu Reeves. So there are 4 units in AP Human Geography, and there's 2 FRQs. So because there are 4 units and 2 FRQs, there's a 50% chance that each unit will be on the AP exam. Rashika says, can we Control-C our notes? I would not recommend it because a lot of times you take notes from PDFs and you combine different sources, so I would not do that. Even if you wrote them yourselves, do not copy-paste. Just don't do it. Michelle says, about how many parts do we have on each FRQ? I don't know. Can't answer that question right now. College Board said don't use the internet, but I am saying don't use the internet unless you really have to. Like, if you really have to, like, you just don't know what de-evolution means, Google it. Jacob said, isn't there 5 units? Yes, but Unit 1 can't be tested on an FRQ. The only way they test Unit 1 is while you're analyzing the stimulus. So could hit, I can go more into the descriptions about how scoring guidelines get made at the end of the stream, but I really want to get into some FRQs right now and finish going over this. So put your questions in the ask a question section. Don't put any more in the chat because I won't be able to see those. Put them in the ask a question section if you seriously have a question that you want me to answer at the end of the stream, guys, so I can get going. So how to write a Borek FRQ. So for describe and explain, you're going to say, if they ask for 2 reasons, you're going to just put 2 reasons in this format. But if they only ask for explain how blah, 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 you're going to say 1 reason that blah, blah, blah is blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to give some elaboration. So for a describe, you're going to give about, a compound sentence worth of elaboration by saying, like, this is evident when we see that people from other cultures come to the United States and then assimilate to our culture, leaving behind pieces of their culture. And then you can keep going if it's an explain by saying a migrant may come from Spain and speak Spanish, but then they come to America and learn to speak English and leave away parts of their Spanish culture. So, just this Borekt FRQ, boring and correct FRQ format, it's something that's real. Just, do whatever you want to do. Okay, so I'm already getting questions in the Ask a Question section. That's good. You know. And why are these formats right? Because I said so. Like, there's no other answer. But what really is emphasized by this dinosaur that I'm writing on is because. So a way to make these boring and correct FRQ statements better is if you add in one reason that the prompt blank is blank, the answer, because blank. If you add in a because statement and you have time, that can only make your response stronger. And if you're writing a describe, or if you're definitely writing an explain, you're going to want to include a because on an explain because those require you to go into a little bit more detail than the describes do. But we'll get into those when we talk about FRQ specifics later, and include it because I said so. So it looks like from the polls that you guys wanted to do the agriculture FRQ and then the culture and political FRQ. So we're going to start with the agriculture FRQ. And agriculture is definitely one of my predictions to be on the AP exam. Why is it one of my predictions? Because agriculture has not been tested on the AP exam since, what was it? I think that it was 2016 was the last agriculture FRQ on the AP exam. And I think that there's going to be agriculture on the exam this year, especially since there are no Unit 6 and 7. Agriculture just has to be on the exam because agriculture is going to replace their urban geography FRQ that they have almost every year. Like agriculture, it's one of my top predictions to be on the exam. So let's get into it. So it looks like some of you guys are already in the, pair deck. So here's our first question. So let's look at the stimuli first. So we see a guy who is putting fresh produce and fruits into the back of his truck. And then we see in photo Y that it's some kind of tractor thing on some field. It looks like it might be grain fields. They might be harvesting something. So is there anything else specific that you guys see in photos X and Y? I mean, I don't really see a lot of specifics there. They're kind of outlined. They're black and white photos like what will be on the exam. So yeah. So if you guys want to get on the pair deck response, that blue-green button there, and start typing your responses, that would be awesome. It looks like I already have 6 of you. So I'm going to help you go through the question while you're typing. So it says, apply the underlying principles of von Thunen's agricultural land use model to describe is the task verb here, locations of activities shown in X and Y relative to a city. So just forget that relative to a city part. It doesn't even matter. So just describe the locations, describe the activities that are going on in these locations, thinking about von Thunen's model. So just think about von Thunen's model when you're describing where these locations would happen. So I'll look at the responses, see if you guys are done or see if you guys are still typing. It looks like most of you are still typing, and I don't really want to read the responses, just like Amanda, until you're done, because I don't want to interrupt you in the middle when you want to change something, because that's one of the beauties of taking your exam online. When you're taking your exam online, you have the option to go back and edit certain things for the AP exam, or you have the option to, go through and type, and then, oh, I want to include this over here. You don't have to scratch out your whole FRQ and rewrite it. You can just move your cursor up. Perfect. It looks like you guys are helping Brittany in the chat with the difference between lingua franca, Creole, and Pidgin language. Good job, Sarah and Abby, for helping her define all of that stuff. And it looks like all of your definitions are right. Yeah. The only thing that I want to add to Abby's definition of lingua franca while you guys are still writing this, Abby said that lingua franca is a common language used internationally to communicate, but the really important part about that definition, which is pretty much right, is when you say that it's a common language used internationally to communicate in trade between different countries. Because if I trade between China and the United States, it depends on where the trading is going on. If I go to Shanghai to do my business deal, my lingua franca will probably be Mandarin. But if I go to the United States of America to do my trade, the Chinese people might be expected to speak English. It's just about what lingua franca you're using. So great job, Abby, Sarah, and Evan Little, Mr. Little, I think is in the stream with me, and for helping Brittany answer her questions. But now I want to kind of look at the sample question 1 responses that you guys have. I hope that you're done by now, because this one doesn't have to be too long. You're still writing. Okay, let's look at this response. This one looks done. So right here. So it says von Thunen's agricultural model states that due to distance and perishability, perishable items tend to be closer to the city market. So according to the von Thunen model, the produces that are produced from market gardening, also known as truck farming, will be closer to the city. I like all of the vocab words you're using there. Meanwhile, large crops such as wheat will be farther away from the city because it's less perishable. Okay, so I like your response. Your writing is pretty good there, but I give it 0 points. Does anybody want to tell me why I'm giving this response 0 points? This response is getting no points. There are 2 possible points on this question, but I'm giving it 0. Does anybody want to help me explain why? Okay, maybe let's go back and reread the question. The question says to describe the locations of activities shown in X and Y relative to a city. What did this person not do that the question asked them to do? Ah, perfect, Rashika. They didn't mention photos X or Y. They didn't say what's going on or X and Y. They have to identify technically you don't have to identify the activity in a sentence because the question didn't ask you to, but you have to know what the activity is. So if this person wants to go back and include market gardening, which is happening in photo X, and large crops such as wheat happening in photo Y, they would get both points on this. 2 points. It doesn't have to describe the 2 stimuli. It just has to describe the locations of the activities. So they did that perfectly with the vocab words and the different rings of von Thunen's model, but what they didn't do is they didn't match which of the photos is occurring. So technically they did analyze the stimuli correctly, but they didn't include which stimuli was which one. So it looks like the other people on the top row are still typing because I see a comma there. Okay, I like this response. You started out by labeling it. So it says A, image X, the truck farming, is placed closer to the city or even within the city in von Thunen's model because they have perishable goods. Perfect. You have described what's going on very fully in that sentence. Along with this, they do not need a lot of land to farm and transportation costs are less. Okay, I like that, but I would include transportation costs are less closer to the city center for market gardening. But this response is going pretty great so far. You've already gotten that point for photo X. Location Y is from grain farming, hence the crop harvester, tractor, whatever, you know. This requires a lot of land and transportation costs are less. They would be placed further from the market. Perfect. This response gets 2 out of 2 points. Congrats to whoever used that response because it's pretty great. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and see. I'll pick a shorter one and see if that one's good. Let's see. This one's a little bit shorter. Using the von Thunen model, the locations of activity X would be closer to the market and activity Y would be further out from the market. Activity X would be closer to the market because the products are easily perishable. Activity Y would be further from the market because it is truck farming and it uses more land. So activity Y would be further from the market. So your FRQ is perfect right up until this point when you said is truck farming. Because if we want to go back and look at the pictures, truck farming is actually happening in activity X, not activity Y. So I'm sorry, but I can't give that. I can give that one the point for X. So you got 1 point for that response, but you didn't get 2 points because you said the wrong thing with that response. Let's see. Let's read this one. One reason that fresh produce and image X would be closer to the market is because the food can spoil much more quickly. Image Y, where grains are being produced, would be located on the furthest ring from the city market. A city, because it won't spoil like an image X. It also needs much more room to grow to produce. See, that's perfect. So you don't have to identify what types of farming are going on in this question, but you do have to describe where the locations of this are in the von Thunen model. So you did pretty good. So if we go back and look at the question, one of my big FRQ strategies is RTFQ. Read the F question. So F can stand for full, freaking, or whatever you want it to stand for. So RTFQ, read the full question and answer what the question is asking for. All right, I am. Oh my God, how did we get to the sound of music? Okay. Oh my gosh. All right, so most of the responses that we're looking at were pretty good. You guys seem like you know your stuff, but you need to make sure you're reading the full question and then answering what the question is actually asking for. So maybe you guys can take, wait, Ignore it, Harrison. I know what The Sound of Musical is. I'm not The Sound of Music. I know what The Sound of Music is. It's a movie and a musical. It's about Maria von Trapp and the kids. I know what it is. I'm not dumb. I don't even know how you guys started talking about it, though. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to move on to the next question. So sorry, but I'm moving on to those of you who are typing. So for this one, you're going to choose either X or Y and apply the underlying principles of von Thunen's agricultural land use model to explain the location of the activity. So a lot of you guys actually did this earlier. I'm sorry, guys, if you're typing, stop typing for a second because I'm going to go back to the other response. This one says describe the locations of the activities, but this one says explain, use the model to explain why the activities were placed in this location. So when you guys are talking about perishable, that could be used in this one. The hills are alive in The Sound of Music. Hills equal geography. But hills are all about Unit 1. That's a type of geographical feature, so that really can't appear on our AP exam, Mr. Little. So why don't you guys go work on answering part B. And while you're doing that, I'll take one of the next questions that's in the Ask a Question section. So, okay. So Ella asked, can we type answers under the FRQ or do they have to be numbered like on a normal AP exam? So basically there are 3 options to submit your AP exam. You can either handwrite and take a picture, you can upload a document, or you can copy paste. There's going to be no writing like there is on AP Classroom. It's going to be a lot different for the AP exam. So for this, you're going to have to type in a Google Docs. You're definitely going to have to number and label the FRQs. You're going to want to make it easy for the reader to see it so it's easy for the reader to give you points. Great question, Ella. So Kadhit asked, do like AP exam readers make scoring guidelines first, then grade our responses, or make scoring guides based on responses? That's a complicated question, so I hope you guys are listening while you're typing. So after you submit your AP exam, sometime at the end of May or early June, a few like AP exam, like the highest level of AP exam readers are going to get together and read between 100 and 1,000 responses for each of the classes. Keep in mind that there are like 50,000 to like 5 million people who take each AP exam. So that's not actually a lot, even though it seems like a lot. So based on those 100 to 1,000 responses, they're going to make the scoring guidelines for the real, like all of the AP readers to use in the late June, early July AP conference, which has been canceled this year because they're all going to be reading from home. So basically they make the scoring guidelines off of a few of the responses. So they're going to be taking a simple random sample of the responses, if you know anything about AP statistics, and they're going to use that to approximate the results to the population. And then they're going to be able to use those scoring guidelines to grade your responses. But your response does not have to be on the scoring guidelines if the AP readers think that your response is good enough. So great question. Let's see. We have Brittany's question, which has already been answered there. So good job with that one, guys. And then the questions, somebody, I can't even see your username here. It is Keanu Reeves asks, I'm so glad we have Keanu Reeves in our chat. Says the question says to write about either X or Y. Say you did more and talked about both. Would they mark you off? Okay, so this is actually a really good question. So the question says to ask about either X or Y. So you only want to talk about one of them. If you talk about both of them, they're only going to grade your first response. At the top of almost every AP rubric, it says grade only the first student response that is not marked out or crossed out. So only answer the question as many times as it asks. If it asks to describe X and Y, describe both of them. If it asks you to pick one, do one or the other. If you have time, which I don't think you will, you can write about both and pick which one is better, but just pick one that you feel is going to be easiest in your mind. Pick one, don't go off topic, don't do two when they ask for one, because they can only grade your first one. Don't do more than they ask for. Because A, you're just making it harder on yourself, you're making it harder on the reader, which makes them not want to give you more points. And then, you're just doing more work than you have to get the same amount of points. Like, they can't give you bonus credit on this exam. Like, you don't get bonus points in the AP exam. Okay, so I'm going to go grade some FRQ responses here. Ooh, we have one more participant than last time. So it looks like you guys are still, people are still typing. So it looks like Rashika is that response in the middle there, I think, because she's using all of those dashed lines. So this response on the right here says, in the market gardening, truck gardening shown in X, like the identification and response, the activity would closure the market due to transportation costs and the bid rent theory. Okay, so I like the response because you're referencing 2 AP human geography costs, but the human geography concepts, but the question doesn't ask for 2. So doing 2 can help you, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be that, necessary. So X is intensive, which requires less land. Thus, the farmer can afford to farm closer to the market. X is also dealing with perishable produce, which must be transported quickly, so X must be located close to the market to protect the quality of the produce. Okay, I like that response. You don't have to do all of that. You could have just talked about the bid rent theory, or you could have talked about the perishability of the products to get the point. But since this response is only worth 1 point, you kind of went a little overboard there. So I'm going to scroll down and pick one from the very bottom. Okay, I'll grade this one. According to the von Thunen model, location Y would be located further away from the city. This is because the activities shown in Y, such as wheat and grain farming, require a cheaper and large amount in order to grow the crops. You'd have to say large amount of land to grow the crops. Another reason for this is because the crops grown in Y are slow to perish than the crops grown closer to the city. Okay, that's good. That gets the point in my mind. So B, oh my gosh. What did I say about only writing one response? Did I not just talk about you only need to do one and you should only ever do what the question asks for? The question asks for you to pick either X or Y. Not to call this person out who wrote about both, but don't write about both. Don't write about both. Like, you don't need to do it. It makes it harder on you. It makes it harder on your AP reader. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, let's take this one. I'll just take these two. Okay, so in picture X, we see a man putting fruits and vegetables on a truck. Because fruits and vegetables are perishable, they have to be closest to the urban center. Therefore, they are in the market gardening ring, which is the first ring outside the urban center. Perfect. Fine. You described why it was there because they're perishable. You described what the effects are on the location. You did exactly what the question asked for. This one got the point. This one is going to be my model response. So after the stream, if you want to go check on the stream page again, like where I post the replay and stuff, I'm going to be putting a Google Doc with all of the best responses from each question so you know what an AP reader is looking for. Even though I'm not an AP reader, I'm going to kind of simulate for you in this exam. So, check back on the stream page like by tomorrow-ish. So I'm not going to be able to read everybody's. I'm going to read one more, this one. So it says be an image Y. Okay, so an image Y will be further away from the market according to the von Thunen model because the type of crop being grown in Y is not perishable. That crop does not need to be close to the market because it will not go bad. See, I would have liked a little bit more description on what crop Y is. So like I would really know that like wheat is not perishable because wheat stays forever and wheat doesn't need to be refrigerated. I like it, and it will get the point. It'll get the point. So yeah, I've done one for X and Y. So this one should also get the point because it talks about perishable and they need more room to grow. So this one kind of references the whole bid rent theory and the whole von Thunen model. So I also like this one if you wrote this one. All right. So next, I'm going to go on to the next part of this FRQ. The next part says identify and describe 2 factors that explain why agricultural land use patterns today differ from those developed by von Thunen's model in 1826. So if you watched Amanda's Unit 5B Rural Land Use cram stream, she talked a lot about the von Thunen model, but she also had 2 slides on the criticisms. And those 2 slides had about 8 criticisms in total, I believe. And when I kind of edited this FRQ to fit more of this year's exam, this is what I was thinking about. So if you watched that cram, then you should be able to answer this question no problem, just fine. But while you guys are answering, I'm going to go answer some more questions. So Rashika says, let's say your answers are a little sketchy. Oh my gosh. If they say 2 examples and we put like 4 just in case the one is right, look at all 4, just the top 2. You guys are going to make me pull out my overly long hair that needs a haircut. Like, stop doing more than what the question asked for. If the question asks for 2 examples, put 2 examples. You can write 4 in your mind. You can write 4 on your paper. You can do whatever you want to, but only put 2 examples. Don't put more than the question asks for. Don't write 4 when it asks for 2. You're wasting time. You're wasting your own time. You're wasting your reader's time. And you're wasting my time by having to answer this question 5 times. Do not write more than what the question asks for. Do not write more than what the question asks for, because they can only grade the first responses that answer the question. They can't grade, say your top 2 responses are awful, but your bottom 2 responses are great. They only care about your first 2 responses, so just make your responses good. Don't write more, just write better. Quality over quantity. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Mango Tango says, would another reason for truck farming in the center to attract certain fruits to a central area? I mean, you could talk about that, but it doesn't really give an example of why the location fits. So, I mean, if you really went in depth and describe it, maybe you could hit the location part, but it won't really help you. Anna says, should I label each part of the FRQ and I am answering it like ABC? Yes, you should. You should. You need to make it as easy on your grader as possible. If it asks for 2 responses, if you want to put a line break in between your 2 responses, even better. Make it easy for you, make it easy for your reader, make it easy for everybody. In our FRQ practice right here, you don't have to label them like when I'm using Pear Deck, but on the community, I would like you to label the sections of your FRQ. I think that most of you are doing that pretty well and making it pretty easy for me to read those too. So thank you guys. Okay. Abby says, what do you recommend us doing the day before the exam? Like on the day of the exam. I'm sorry. What do you recommend us doing before the exam on the day of the exam? Let's see. Eating a good meal before the exam, drinking water, getting your laptop prepped or your phone or whatever, writing your APID and initials on the top of whatever you're going to use. Prepare your responses, maybe format with like A, B, C, D, E ahead of time just in case, just do all those things. But also don't cram on the morning before the exam. Yes, you can come to our cram session between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. Yes, I would love for you to come to that the night before the exam, but don't stay up too long the night before the exam either. Because you said technically the day of the exam, do not stay up till 1 a.m. the day of the exam. Do not do it. Like, you can cram and do stuff like that, but I don't. Oh my gosh, everybody's like, sorry, I asked before he clarified, I think. Did not mean to make you mad. It's okay, but I'm definitely going to emphasize, do not write more than they ask for. That's like one of my big things. Ooh, it looks like you guys are doing a lot here. Good. And it looks like you guys are still typing. If I find one that's complete, then I'll grade that one. Okay, this one looks pretty complete. So development of refrigeration caused the von Thunen model to not be as relevant today, since refrigeration caused products like fruit and milk not to be as perishable and be able to travel a longer distance. I like this. This is kind of like my formula. Since is going to be kind of like the because, and is always a good thing to add into sentences. Since this one is identify, is this one identify and describe? Yeah, so this one's identify and describe, so you would not need to write as much as you would for an explain, but you still need to be making sure that you're writing enough to answer the question. So this one also says, another reason for the differences in von Thunen model from 1826 to now, I like that you're putting the prompt into your answer, referencing the prompt, great job whoever this is the improved transportation. Better mode of transportation is cheapen the transportation cost. The sentence is kind of redundant. I mean, it's fine. It's just kind of redundant. This is an English class, so I'm not going to make fun of you, but it just is a little bit. And made it faster and more affordable for people to bring products to the market, making perishability and costs less of an issue. Yeah, perfect. You got all. This part was actually worth 4 points in my mind. Because the first 2 questions were kind of similar. The first one was like a describe, then it builds onto it with an explain, and then this one's kind of like identify and describe these things. I like this one. It's clearly labeled, which you don't even have to do. It uses my exact formula. I like this, so I'm going to read this one. So this one says, one factor that explains why agricultural land use patterns today differ from those developed by von Thunen's model in 1826 is that the land is not uniform. There are environmental features that can interest the model ring, for example, a river crossing through the city. Perfect. This would be enough for an identify and explain, because the question only asks you to describe. You might have gotten confused and just thought it said explain. That's fine, whatever. But you did enough. You got the point. You see, another factor is more advanced technology. We now have refrigeration transportation that will allow for perishable goods to be farther from the urban center. Perfect. Because this question doesn't ask you to reference the stimulus, you don't have to. This question doesn't say anything about X or Y, so you don't have to reference it. Good job, guys. Everything that I'm reading so far has been good on this response. And I think what I'm saying and yelling at you has made you think about what to write for your responses. Okay, Senor Miller, have you seen me pass by yours? Would you really like me to read yours? Okay. Senor, what is your response? It is, okay. Well, okay, what does it start out with? Is it like, I don't even. Okay, put his answer in the chat so I can read his if he really wants me to. He said the two factors that modify the agricultural land use patterns today differ from the von Thunen model is because of refrigeration and food preservation, thus making dairy and meat products less perishable. Cut hit. I think you earned about 1 point on this FRQ. Because when a question asks for two factors, they have to be two distinct factors. So you said the two factors that modified it are, this response is actually out of 4 points because it has two task verbs, so it's going to be out of 4 points. Sometimes one task verb, like explain, is going to be 2 points if it's a complicated question, but usually each section is going to be 1 point per task verb. And since this asks for 2, you're going to multiply 2 by 2 and get 4. That's the math I'm going to teach you to help prepare you for your geometry test today, Mary. Hopefully that helps. Kahit says the two factors are refrigeration and improved food preservation. Those are kind of the same thing. Refrigeration is improved food preservation. So it didn't ask for just technological factors. You could have talked about other things too. So I give you 1 point out of 4. So not bad, but Sarah says, Harrison, I'll be hearing your voice in my head while I write the FRQs on the day of the exam. Well, Sarah, okay, let me think about this. I think that Sarah has been to almost all of my live streams at Fiveable because you came to like the Unit 7 stuff, like the extra stuff that's not going to be on the exam. So I think you've heard my voice a lot too. Don't write more than you need to write, Harrison. You don't use more examples than this. Pretend it's Harrison sitting next to you while you're doing your exam. Yeah, I remember, like, what was that? That was the Unit 5B cram when I came in and you were like, Harrison, can you write my exam for me? I think that it was like Stefan Senior who asked that. LOL. Okay, you put your name on yours. I will search for it. Okay. I found your response in your Miller. One factor that von Thunen did not have in his model today that exists today is new transportation technology, which makes it easier to move than he predicted. These include refrigeration and airplanes, which allow us to move crops further and faster. Okay, 2 points so far. You said another is diminishing importance of wood as a fuel source, causing it to be farther from the city than von Thunen predicted, as not as much as needed or used today. Okay. I'll give you 4 out of 4 points for that. I like how you referenced wood and forest because not a lot of people do that on this FRQ. That one wasn't even on the rubric when I thought it should be. But if you think about it, and you want to even make your response better, Senor, even though you already got 4 out of 4 points, you could add in that wood used to be used as a source for energy and electricity in homes, but now we mainly use fossil fuels like coal. Perfect. Like, good job. You got 4 out of 4 points, Senor Miller. Thank you for making me read yours. If you really want me to, I can add in that last part about burning wood for fuel, and then I can also, add in the different parts. Okay, so somebody asked in the questions, could you go over additional criticisms of the von Thunen model? Also, can you repeat where I can find these? So Unit 5B cram stream by Amanda under like the live cram sessions, like the pepper, you should be able to find the criticisms there. I'm 99% sure she put it in a timestamp, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. Maria says, how familiar should we be with the different types of farming, pastoral nomadism, shifting cultivation, etc.? Okay. Here's going to be my easy answer. In the chat, I'm going to put a link to where you can find all of our Unit 5 study guides. I think that Amanda wrote these, and she also published a comprehensive overview. So literally, if you download the Unit 5 study guide that Amanda sent out in the CRAM email last night, if you're a CRAM subscriber, Maria, I don't know if you are, but if you're not, then I can find those links and PDFs and stuff and send them to you. But if you use those things from the email, she posted the Unit 5 study guide. That goes perfectly, I read through it, and it goes perfectly in depth into what you need to know for subsistence versus commercial and then the different types of them. So look at the Fiveable study guides. I'll put the link to like the online study guides if you don't have a CRAM pass in the chat here, and hopefully this link's, oh no, that link is not going to work. I lied. Don't click on that link. That's not a real thing because I did not include the subject. Haha, JK. Let me remove that link. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I think that might be the last part. So you guys wanted to do, what other FRQ did you want to do? You wanted to do political and cultural. Yes. Okay, that one's a 15-minute FRQ, so that's going to take me a second to click through here. No, it's not that one. It's this one. Okay, here we go. So sample response 2. Identify the primary language on the shaded area of the map. Okay, do it. The sentence formula that I gave you for identify should work perfectly for this question. I'm going to be wrapping up the stream in like the next 30 minutes. I'm sorry that it's going to go over, but like FRQ reviews take a really long time if you want to do 2 FRQs. I'm sorry, Andrew. There are study guides for every unit of AP Human, besides Unit 6, which I'm currently writing right now, but that's not even on the exam, so don't worry about it. Go to app.fiveable.me-ap-hug. And then after that, let me link the Unit 4 study guides. It is sad that I know the exact URL for these, as you guys are identifying the primary language on the shaded area of the map. Those are going to be your agriculture. That's going to be agriculture unit. If you go to that link and then type and click the study guides tab, you should be able to read all of the agriculture study guides. Okay. We'll take one more question right now. Rashika says, do we have to do complete bullet sentence or is bullet points fine? You must answer in complete sentences. Complete sentences only. Do not bullet point it. Do not do it. Do not do it. Complete sentences always. So to answer Shreya's question, other than agriculture being an important unit of study, do you think culture or political unit is more important out of these two? Really, just study whatever you need to study. Just study all 4 units because they could all equally likely be on the FRQ, and they could even combine units to make it every unit is going to be on the FRQ. So just study every unit. Study what you're worst at. It doesn't help you to study Unit 3 if you're really great at culture. Like, it doesn't help you. So if you don't need it, then don't do it. All right. The primary language of the shaded area is French. Perfect. The exact same response. I like this, but I would definitely say, is Quebec shaded on the map? Still fine. Quebec French, perfect. Quebecois, perfect. Primary language, perfect. 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 You don't even have to say this is because of the French heritage of people who live here. You don't have to say that. This is an identify question. You don't have to say that. You just have to say this first sentence right here, whoever wrote this. It's perfect that you did, and you might be using this fact later on the FRQ, but you don't need it right now. I like this when it goes into a little bit more detail about why, but you don't need it. This is identify. Boom, 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 boom. All of these are complete sentences, not bullet points, so they all get the point from me. Jada, you don't even need this. You don't need that. You just need your first answer. So looks like you guys are getting this one pretty well. So let's move on. Identify a positive impact of bilingualism on a country. So this is when we start to combine the different political and language aspects of it. Okay. That's FRQ. I don't understand. Oh my gosh. What are you guys even doing in the chat? I'd like to order an FRQ sandwich. Okay, I'm gonna go answer another question. It looks like a really beautiful French name, P''ANT accented E. Don't know how to pronounce it, not even gonna try, but it looks like a nice name. Could another factor be the development of outer land areas and the creation of suburbs, allowing people to travel greater distance? So you could use that as a response, but then because of the creation of suburbs, you have transportation. The Industrial Revolution is what led to the creation of suburbs, because when you had cars, you could drive places to go to suburbs instead of just living in the urban area or on a farm. So really, you could use it as an answer, but it would then just, again, loop back to transportation and cars and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know about the Olympics points. I know that Amanda is working on a Zap right now that'll give you Olympics points even if you watch it on Crowdcast by exporting the attendees. So if you guys don't get points, email help@fiveable.me, the email address. And you guys are free to leave whenever you want to. I'll keep reviewing FRQs with whoever's still here. I can even do more. But that email, if you're not getting Olympics points, email a complete description, email exactly what happened to this email, and they can try to help you get your points. So let's read some responses that are hopefully done. So this one's explain. Okay, I'll read this one. It looks done. A positive. Oh, nope, not done, not done, not done, not done. Okay, it does not look like you're done yet, so I'll give you guys a few more minutes. While you're doing that, I'm just going to name this. Do this for Fiveable, save session name, boom. Okay. So let me see if you guys are done now. Okay, this one still looks done. So positive impact on bilingualism of a country is that it could bring in more people. Oh my gosh, it's not done. Never mind. I lied. This is tricking me. Okay. So Amanda's strategy of taking it back to the environment doesn't really work here with, bilingualism. How can speaking two languages help the environment? That really can't help you there. So, I mean, just try to think. Okay, yours is done. Yours is... Okay, I'll go look at them. I will go look at them right now. Okay, show responses. Let's see. I'll scroll to a random response, and hopefully it's one of your guys. Okay. Oh my gosh, this one's long, and I will read it. Bilingualism can have tremendous positive impacts on it. Okay. I don't know if this person has watched Amanda's cram stream last night, but let me tell you something again. This is not an English essay. You do not have to have a hook. You do not have to have a topic sentence. You do not have to have a thesis. You just have to answer the question. That first sentence can be deleted. You'd wasted time writing that sentence. You had 15 minutes to answer this whole FRQ, and you wasted time writing that sentence. Harrison's not mad. Harrison is just disappointed. Okay. Bilingualism in a country can result in a greater range of cultures and forms of communication between the countries. For example, Quebec, a Western province. Okay, let's think of our Unit 1 skills again. Can we compare West and East? Quebec, a province of Canada, is widely considered to be a bilingual province within Canada, with many people speaking both English and French. This can result in a positive dynamic of various different cultures, both French and British, which can attract a significant amount of tourism. Okay, so you said this is basically just like an introductory paragraph. You answer the question like two different ways with like very broad statements. Like you need to be specific. So, I mean, I might give this response 1 out of 2 points, but I would not give it 2 out of 2 points. Let's read this one. Jada wrote this response. I'm so glad I pulled up to it so you guys didn't yell at me in the chat again. A positive impact of bilingualism would be diversity within a country. It could allow for more diverse representation of different languages in the government and country. An example is label signs within the state that have both French and English. Good. So when you say an example is labels and signs, I would also maybe include the vocab word toponym in there, the names of places. Oh my gosh. Are you guys really like just obsessed with me saying this is going to be on the exam? I'm disappointed. Do not play that card. Oh my gosh. Somebody asked, are the AP exam graders rude or do they understand us? I'm pretty sure that they understand you. I want to see if this person is still in the stream. We have a teacher here, Mr. Evan Little. He left the chat, but I'm pretty sure that he is not rude. He is a pretty nice person. He is an AP World teacher, but I think he's also branching off into AP Human Geography. He was watching me in the beginning of the stream, and I think I keep getting notifications on my watch that he's grading community responses because I get emails every time you guys post there. So I keep seeing him pop up. That's why I look down sometimes because I get emails and stuff. So, cut hit. No, I'm not planning to be a teacher. I would love to be a teacher, but I cannot get paid enough to be a teacher. Also, I would hate like grading things and giving people bad grades because then like, okay, it's just not going to be a thing that I'll do. So good job on this one, guys. Make sure that you include vocab words in your responses. That's one of my biggest tips. Okay, Abby says, bilingualism can have a positive impact on a country because it can increase cultural diversity. A lot of distinct French culture comes from French-speaking areas. This can lead to cultural pride and nationalism. Boom. So let me double check the wording of the question. Okay, so it's a positive impact of bilingualism. So, yep, you did it right. Okay, it's me, Mario. Okay, so one positive impact of bilingualism in a country much more diverse and multiculturalism. Again, if this was cut hit writing this response, which I think it is, you need to give more for an explain. This is not enough to get the point. You can get, if this question said identify and explain, you would get 1 point. But since the question just says explain, you're going to get 0 points for this response because you didn't say what the diversity helps or how multiculturalism is a positive impact. Because the question asked, explain a positive impact of bilingualism on a country. So to get the point for this response, you're going to have to do 3 things. 3 things. So, I'm sorry, I blinked for a second. Oh my gosh. So for this question, you're going to have to identify the impact on a country. You're going to have to explain how this thing impacts the country, and you're going to have to explain why this is a positive impact as opposed to a negative impact. You're going to have to do those 3 things to get the point on this FRQ, and there could be 1 to 2 points for this question. Rashika asked that it might mention de-evolution, and by encouraging culture and making people feel accepted, it would increase immigration. Yeah, perfect. So a really popular response for this, I'm going to go on so I don't go way too over time, even though it always happens with FRQ reviews. A thing that a lot of students put that was a really good response was that like it leads to cultural acceptance in the country, which can increase immigration rates and increase the diversity of the country. So they kind of linked all of it to go through and say like, oh, the immigration benefited the country because it had more citizens. I'm going to look for Sarah's name right here and read her response because she was asking me to in the chat. But immigration was actually a really good response because they could have more immigrants from other French-speaking countries, and then it would be able to be a stronger country with more people. A positive impact on bilingualism on a country is a rich cultural landscape combining features of 2 cultures contributing to an increased cultural understanding of people in the country. For example, many from the English and French-speaking parts of Canada intermarry, and many living in Quebec are bilingual and also speak English. Okay, I love your response. It's so nice, and it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling of cultural acceptance, but you didn't tell me why it's a positive impact. You didn't actually say how it helps the country. I'm going to keep looking for a good response right now. If I see a name on one, I'll grade Jada's. I'll grade Abby's. Bilingualism can have a positive impact on a country because it can increase cultural diversity. A lot of distinct French-speaking culture comes with French-speaking areas. This can lead to cultural... I already graded yours. I am dumb. Today has been a long day. I'll grade Ella's and Maddie's, and then I'll be done with this one. A positive aspect of bilingualism on a country is that there is more diversity representation of a country because it promotes a better unity in the country. Yay! Finally, somebody has a useful topic sentence that actually ties into the rest of their prompt. For example, in Canada, French wasn't an official language until recently because of the realization that there's a lack of representation of Quebec in Canada. Therefore, Canada formed 2 official languages in order to represent everybody. Okay, I love this response. What would make it even better and make it get the full 2 out of 2 points always? Half of AP readers would give this 2 points. Half of them would give it 1 out of 2 points because you said it promotes better unity in your topic sentence, but then you didn't say bilingualism can be a centripetal force in a country that unites them. You'd have to say that to get the full 2 out of 2 points from every reader. A positive impact of bilingualism on a country could be more unified people being able to communicate since they can speak to each other and bring in more people migrating into the country. An example of this would be in Canada, English speakers and French speakers that are bilingual would be able to collaborate and create better ways to run the government. Maddie, I like your response. Good job. Was this Maddie Seguro, the one in the chat that I always see? So, good job. This one will be the sample response for this one. I'm glad that I ended this on a good note. So we can move on to part C. There's only this one and one more part to this FRQ, so I promise we will wrap it up soon. I've actually only been on with you guys for an hour, so. Let's see. Explain a negative impact of bilingualism on a country. So I've already given you the hint for the positive. Good job, Madison Salguro. I really hope I pronounced your last name right. I am not good with names. That's why I always ask for phonetic pronunciation. So you have to do 3 things to get the point. Remember, you have to give me the impact, you have to say how it impacts the country, and you have to say why it's negative. So with each thing, you could basically, I hate giving sentence quotas, but with each thing, it could be a sentence. Whenever a question says, explain a negative impact of blank on blank, you have to do the 3 things. You have to explain why it's negative or positive. You have to, first you have to identify the impact, then you have to explain why it's negative or positive, then you have to go into why it impacts the country. And that's what the verb explain makes you do. Okay, let me go through and answer some questions. Pronounced Anjali. This is kind of confusing question, but you know how we don't have to know units 6 and 7 for the exam. You might have answered this, but should we study those in case those appear on the exam? No. Do not study units 6 and 7. Amanda said this yesterday. Amanda says it in every cram stream. I say it in chat all the time in my streams. Don't study units 6 and 7. They took them off the AP exam for a reason. They're making your life easier, and they're going to be narrowing in on specific topics from units 2 through 5. Don't study 6 and 7 because they're not going to be on the exam. Make sure you spend the time that you would be spending studying 6 and 7, going a little bit more in depth and finding more examples for, units 2, 3, 4, and 5, especially for units 4, 5, and migration. Shreya's helping me in the chat here. Somebody asked, when you give an example for explain, does it have to be a reference to the stimulus or can it be from a different country? It's always better if you reference the stimulus because that's what's on the scoring guideline and that's what can get your response a better grade easier. Of course, the right response will always get the point, but if it's on the scoring guideline and it's referenced in the stimulus, it would be a lot easier for you to get the point and you'll have to do a lot less. So good question, Charlie. Shreya answered this question also on explain, do I always need to provide an example? You're not required to provide an example, but an example will be able to support your response and make it stronger to where you can get the description point for your response. Because usually with explain on human geography, there's going to be the identification point, but then there will also be the explanation description point. So Andrew has a really good question about the chat going over cultural, economic, social factors, impacts. And I would actually love to go over those with you guys using a different model at the end of my stream after we're done with this FRQ. Because it's really important things that they could ask you in a question. Ugh, I can't speak. So this response says a negative impact of bilingualism on a country is that it may cause cultural tension. Cultural tension acts as a centrifugal force that pushes a country apart and may eventually lead to de-evolution. Cultural tensions will cause segregation between two groups, and the minority language group will experience discrimination from the dominant language group. Perfect. I like the response. We talked about why it's negative. We said a lot of bad things. We used a lot of vocab words. We talked about the impact on the country. This response gets the full 2 out of 2 points. Good job, whoever wrote this. Okay, this one. Bilingualism can have a negative effect on a country because it can lead to de-evolutionary pressures. With many distinct cultural groups, some may demand more autonomy. For example, Quebec has demanded more autonomy from the Canadian government. De-evolution can lead to the decrease in a state unity in the prospect of balkanization. Okay? Like the vocab word is good. I'll grade Sarah since she put her name there and I was scrolling past it. A negative impact of bilingualism on a country is that can be a strong centrifugal force that can lead to disunity. People of different languages may feel a strong sense of disunity with the people that speak their own language, but not feel any connection with those that speak a different language due to the language barrier. An example of this is in Canada is when the Quebecois had a vote whether or not to become independent from the state of Canada. This language barrier ultimately may lead to de-evolutionary pressures. Perfect. You talked about de-evolution, just like the Spain de-evolution FRQ. The Catalonians and the Basques have a slightly different language than the rest of Spain because they feel different and they're a different culture. So they had referendum votes too. So perfect. I like that. Good job, Sarah. Since Maria put her name there, I will grade this one too. A negative impact of bilingualism on a country is that there may be cultural tensions between the speakers of different languages. Having a large population with two groups who speak their own language can result in a strong sense of ethnic place with one's language, which can lead to an ethnic tensions or conflict. For example, the country of Belgium is separated by... Okay. So I said you can reference something that's not in the stimulus, but I don't recommend it. Like I said you could, but I kind of take that back. You can, but I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Because you have to do so much more to get the explanation point. So, for example, the country of Belgium is separated by the French and the Dutch speakers, Walloons and Flemings, and a strong sense of national unity pressures within each group has resulted in cultural tensions within the country. So, Maria, your first part of the response, like all the way up to here, which can lead to tensions, ethnic conflict, okay, I like it up to there, and it got 1 point, but this example didn't get the point because it didn't reference what actually leads to the ethnic. Like, you would have had to include a lot more vocab in there, or you would have had to make it much more specific or to fit the stimulus. Can't speak today. One negative impact that bilingualism can have on a country is the cultural conflict. If a country has two different cultures that speak different languages, one group of people may feel less important than another group of people. Conflict will rise and tensions will be high. This may lead one group to want to leave the country. This will lead to de-evolution. I like this response. You know what explains do? So explains wants you to try to link the negative impact all the way across to its final point. So this response is actually really good. And let's see, Emma, you are going to be my example response for this question because you linked everything. An explain question can be awesome and can sound great, and the AP will give the point if you link everything and everything looks great. So, it seems like you guys are trying to go through and give good jobs, guys. Great, making a positive atmosphere. Okay, Anjali. Let me go find Anjali's response, and then I'll read this one, but then we will be moving on because I'm already over time, and we only have one more question to go through. So, Emma, it's Mario. I've been reading Jada's a lot. Anjali. So I'm gonna actually read Anjali's and Andrew's because I haven't read a lot of Andrew's, but I know he's been active in the chat. So a negative impact on bilingualism on a country could be cultural tension. Different languages in a certain country could cause discrimination and barriers to social and political interactions. It may also invoke more ethnocentrism within a country and eventually lead up to de-evolution. Good. I like the response. Short, sweet, good. Like it. So let me go find Andrew's response. That one got 2 out of 2 points, by the way. Did Andrew delete his response? I swear I just saw it. I was going to read it for you, but now I can't find it anymore. Oh, here it is. Okay. So bilingualism can also create divisions within a country since not everyone will be able to speak both languages. For instance, Quebec regions in Canada speak predominantly French. If an inhabitant who only speaks English, Canada's other official language, moves or visits Quebec, there will be a potential breakdown in communication on a larger scale and can serve as a centrifugal force that divides the country. Okay, I like it. It gets the 2 points. But now I have to move on. Like, seriously, I would love to read more responses, but I will move on to the last question. So this question is going to really incorporate 2 units. It's going to incorporate language and political geography. And yes, this is going to cover 2 units, and your FRQs on your exam could cover 2 units too. Describe 2 reasons other than language why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept. Now, you don't have to, but I would love for you to drive these I would love for you to pick these reasons from the other units, like maybe talking about population or other things from culture or from political geography. Yeah, take it from anything that you want to, but just don't make it the same. Okay, Sarah, while you guys are writing this, I see this in the chat. My teacher gave us 5 FRQs for Unit 1. Okay. In my expert human geography opinion, I don't think that you'll have an FRQ on Unit 1. There has never, ever, since 2001, when the AP Human Geography exam was created, ever been an FRQ on Unit 1. Actually, on the course and exam description, it shows that there will never be an FRQ on Unit 1. If they change that for online exams, then that will make me very sad because they've gone back on their word. But it's just something to deal with. Like, you don't need to spend time studying Unit 1. Like, I don't really think. Shreya asks, is it possible for you to do another live stream this weekend or on Monday? So we are working on maybe having Shreya, very similar name to you, Shreya Bergata. I think I pronounced her last name right. I always have trouble with it. Shreya, the other AP Human Geography streamer. So she's going to be doing some FRQ responses kind of like mine, the other 2 from the stream, and going over them with you guys if we can this weekend. Like, we're trying to schedule it, but it may or may not work. Rita? Good question. I have not heard from Rita recently, but I do know that the 5-hour cram on Monday, Amanda will be going through some different FRQs with you guys. So Amanda will definitely be going through more FRQs on Monday with the 5-hour cram, but the first 3 hours will be me and Shreya going over things with you guys, content. We're going to be making something together. We're going to be, going through all that stuff. So, Senora Miller asked about Rita. Maybe I'll try contacting her, but I don't know. She doesn't usually respond to me very quickly, so I don't know. Depends. So since this was described to, this FRQ is going to be worth 2 points in this section. So basically, the first one is worth 1 point. Part B was worth 2 points. Part C was worth 2 points, and this one is also going to be worth 2 points. So this whole FRQ is worth 7 points, which is what a general AP Human FRQ is worth, like in a normal year. But this year, I could see them upping it to like 10 points, 11 points, 12 points. Madison asks, okay, wait, Harrison, you took AP HuG 9th grade. Is that what everyone here is doing? So AP Human Geography across the USA is regarded as usually a freshman introductory AP class. It can be taken at any time. There's no discrimination between like what grades you can take it in, but most people do take AP HuG as a freshman. Also, some people might take AP Psych as a freshman or AP Environmental Science, but like it's kind of considered more of an introductory AP. Shreya says, how many FRQs will you be going over on Monday? I'm debating whether to attend Monday's cram session or not. If you have a cram pass, I totally recommend attending it. Like, I definitely do. Definitely attend it if you have the cram pass. Like, it will be so worth it. The first 3 hours, Shreya and I will be going over content, what you need to know for the exam, how to answer FRQs, and then Amanda will be doing this Pear Deck stuff again with you for 2 hours, going over FRQs. So she should probably be done with like 3 FRQs on Monday in 2 hours. Going over them with you guys. So I'll go grade some responses now, and hopefully we can end this soon. I'm so sorry for going over. You know, in my streams, I usually don't like to go over, but it's just something that has to happen sometimes. I'll go find one that's finished or that has a name. If it has a name at the end of it, I'll know it's finished. But it doesn't. These don't look finished. Ah! Oh. Ooh, I saw somebody reference none of it. Okay, here, boom. A nation state means a group of people who have shared cultural background and live in the same country. Okay, the AP Human Geography reader is probably an AP Human teacher, and they probably know what a nation state is. So I would probably include this later in your response and not as your topic sentence. So Canada does not fit the definition because it has two major ethnic groups. Parts of it are French from the French colonization, parts of it are English from the English colonization. I like you referencing history as a reason. Canada fits the definition of a multinational state, but does not fit the rules of a nation state. Okay, I like this response, but it only gets 1 out of 2 points because your only reason is that it has two major ethnic groups, the French and the English. So it's separated by language cultures. That's it. So you get 1 point for doing that. Separating by language cultures is a good thing to reference, but you need 2 reasons. Okay, I like this one. This one looks finished. One reason Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is that it is physically fragmented, which can cause certain groups to feel left out. Perfect. If you wanted to reference fragmented states and territorial morphology in another sentence, that would make this response perfect. But you have gotten the point already. I would like a little bit more description, but I always like a little more description. Unless you're putting like way more responses. I like a little bit more explanation going in depth, but I don't like too many responses. Definitely not. So another reason is that cultural diversity will drive the country apart, not making them feel united. This can lead to a lack of nationalism. So you could say that this can lead to de-evolutionary forces later. This can lead to centrifugal forces, but a lack of nationalism, I mean, I'll accept it and give you the 2 out of 2 points, but it's a weak 2 out of 2. It's definitely a stronger response, but it's a weak 2 out of 2. Oh, Mario is telling you to review his. Wait, who's Mario? Wait, what could be wrong? What are you going to ask me next stream? Okay. Is this year's AP FRQ probably going to have agriculture? Okay. In my eyes, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that your 15-minute FRQ is just going to be agriculture, but I'm thinking that the 25-minute FRQ is going to be a combination between migration and political. I'm thinking that that's what this year's FRQ is going to be from looking at past FRQs. What are the gaps in the data? What does all the data show? So those are my predictions. I'm not predicting culture to be an FRQ because usually the College Board has published less Unit 3 FRQs than any other unit besides Unit 1. I'm going to read, okay, here's who they said in the chat. So Cut Hit wants me to read his, or should I call him Mario? Sarah wants me to read hers, Anjali wants me to read hers, and Martina wants me to read hers. So I'll start with Cut Hits first, and I'm sure he put Mario after his response. Of course he did. So one reason that Canada is not fit in the modern nation state because Canada contains many ethnicities inside of it. See, okay, so language, so your grammar and your diction is not graded on the AP exam, but it's always good to type in correct. Oh, you're fixing it. Okay, thank you. It's always good to use the right words. So for example, the French and Anglo-Canadians. Another reason is that Canada is not considered a nation state. It has many different religious groups inside of it. For example, it has Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, Jews, many other religious groups. Okay, so, this one's hard for me because I kind of want to give it 2 points, but I also kind of want to give it 1 point, and I also kind of want to give it 0 points. Like, there's reasons for me to give it different points. I mean, oh, this is out of 2 points, by the way. I'm going to give it 1 point. I like the description of the different religious groups that are inside of it, but I don't like that you just said, for example, French and Anglo-Canadians, because your religion could be considered your ethnicity and your language could be considered your ethnicity. So I kind of only... I don't know if you're. Sarah plays bassoon, and I play French horn and piano. If you were curious, I play French horn band and mellophone and marching band. If you were curious, I'm sure you weren't, but you asked somebody else in the chat, so I felt the need to interject myself. So cut hit. I'm sorry, but I only give you 1 out of 2 points because that, for example, French and Anglo-Canadians is not strong enough. Oh. So I mean, I would just like to see a little bit more about the differences between French and Anglo-Canadians. I get it, but with the describe 2, you're going to want to give more. Okay, guys, don't just don't tie your self-esteem to 2 FRQ responses. Like, you're going to do well on the AP exam, or you're going to, So Jada asked a good question in the chat while you guys are finishing your responses. When I get to the FRQ, should I read all the questions beforehand instead of taking it but question by question? So what I recommend you do, your learning style and your teaching writing process could be completely different. What was I thinking? I'm sorry. Harrison lost his train of thought. I would say start with question A. It's probably going to be an identify, or it's not going to be a define. It's probably going to be an identify or an identify and describe. So, I mean, I would just go through it. If I know the answer to the question, I would answer it. But if I don't know it, then I would skip it and just keep going on. I would probably go question by question because I'm such a fast reader. But if you guys just want to read through the whole thing and answer what you know and kind of see if you can get any hints from the other questions, then do that. But just do whatever works for you. I mean, take a practice exam and do both ways and see, what do you want to do? Okay, let me find all responses that have a dash at the end of them with a name. Okay. I've read from Ella a lot today. Grade me, please. Okay, I don't know who this is, but it's fine if you want to remain anonymous. That's the point of the pear deck. So D, I like the identification, even though you don't need it. The reason why Canada does not fit in the concept is that it contains multiple nations. A nation state only contains one nation, which does not follow. There are 2 nations in Canada. There is British Canadians and the French Canadians. Okay, with this, I like that, but I would say that you need to kind of reference that the thing that separates the British Canadians from the French Canadians is the language of English versus French. I like it. You're just not going enough in depth. So another reason that it doesn't fit the concept is how there are multiple ethnicities, like Europeans and Asians, which doesn't fit the definition of a nation state. Instead of using the word ethnicities here, I like that ethnicities is more of an AP HuG vocab word, but I think you really need to be using the word nationalities there since you're referencing different continents. I mean, it's a pretty good response. It's a very strong response, but I'm going to give it to you to 2 points anyways because I'm feeling very generous today and hope that your AP reader is feeling as generous as I am on exam day. Okay, does this one say grade me, please? Please also grade this one if you can. Okay, D, one reason that Canada does not fit the nation state is because it consists of many ethnic groups. It is home to people from different ethnic backgrounds from around the world. Okay, because this is a describe, you don't have to give an example of the different ethnic groups, but I would like to see different ethnic groups. I'll give you a point for that part, but I would really love to see, an example of an ethnic group. Another reason that Canada doesn't fit in the nation-state concept is because people speak different native languages as well. Because they're immigrants from different backgrounds, there are different languages spoken too. These factors would be a centrifugal force which could lead to de-evolution because these countries might cause them to feel discriminated. Perfect. I will give you 2 out of 2 points, Sally, because I really like the description on the second one, and that makes up for not having an example for the second one. For the first one. Okay, I'll grade Ella's. Oh gosh, this is long. Okay, Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept because of their difference in ethnic backgrounds and also because of their large regional separation. In Canada, there are people of English heritage, French heritage, as well as even indigenous groups that live throughout the icy country. A nation-state must have one sole group of identification, whereas Canada has quite a few. Like that, definitely 1 out of 1 point, very strong. Also, regional separation also might cut Canada out of the modern nation-state concept. A nation-state is supposed to be united in political beliefs and systems, and as depicted in the example stimulus, there are provinces of Canada which are very large, can create large inconsistencies in belief and also in political systems. These differences might make it harder for Canada to unite under a single political belief, which differs from the same beliefs that a nation-state has. Perfect, Ella, that is definitely a 2 out of 2 response. This is a describe, so you didn't even need that much, but it was great that you included all of that. So Anjali says the first reason why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is because there are more cultural diversity in Canada, including multiple religious groups such as those, but not limited to Catholic, Protestants, and Jews. Perfect, and I like the example, and you still kept it short and concise. Secondly, another example is the regional party politics. This regionalism challenges unity and emphasizes the rise of separatist and political movements. I like that, but you might want to include a different vocab word like terrorism or, de-evolution, things like that. Because this one references Nunavut, I want to read that one. In order for Canada to be a nation-state, it must be primarily made up of one ethnic group. However, Canada is not a nation-state because there are various ethnic regions that are in the country. For example, there is a I've never been able to say this word. Nunavut region in Canada, which is a distinct ethnic nation that is separate from many other groups. Also, Canada's geography causes many regions to be fragmented and left out, which can contribute to the evolution. Just make that last sentence a complete sentence, and I would give that 2 out of 2 points. Grade me, please. Canada does not fit the concept of a nation-state, as they have many varieties of nationalities and ethnicities within the country. Okay, I would just love to see an example of 1 or 2 nationalities and ethnicities, but I'll still give it the point for right now. They have also different ethnicities within the country. The French colonized Quebec, and if we take Nunavut, for example, they are Inuit people. They are all different ethnicities and therefore do not meet the criteria for a nation-state. Okay. I would only give this 1 out of 2 points because I only see 1 response. The 2 responses that you have very much overlap. Like, they need to be 2 distinct reasons. So I'll give that 1 out of 2 points because it is good. This response does not have enough. It needs something else. This is a describe question. This is kind of a response to identify right here. 2 reasons that Canada doesn't fit the nation-state concept are different cultures or heritage and then different belief systems. That's not enough. I would give that 0 out of 2 points because this is not an identify question. This is a describe. So this response, which I really like the labeling. So good job, whoever wrote this. D, 1 reason why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is its immigration levels. Due to immigration into Canada, many different cultures and ethnicities may come into the country, allowing for a multinational state. I do like that one because when I practiced with this FRQ, I wrote about the high Chinese immigration to Vancouver as an example. So I do like that one. And if you included Chinese immigration to Vancouver or something like that, that'd be awesome. 2, another reason may be Canada's history. In its history, Canada has had many different colonizers, including English and French. This causes different types of regions and cultures within the country, ruining the nation-state concept. 2 out of 2 points, data. Good job. Okay, great. Oh my gosh, these are a ton of responses. Oh my gosh. See, cut hit. This is why I could not handle being a teacher. Oh, wait. Why are we talking about sexism? Okay, guys, I can't even monitor the chat right now. Okay, Antonia says, why is there a child teaching? I'm Harrison Burnside. I'm a sophomore, and I am a student teacher at Fiveable, but I am 15. I'm in a 5 on the AP Human Geography exam. If you need my credential or you need to know why Amanda hired me as a student streamer, then you can email her. I will give you your email, Antonia, if you want to verify that I am a wonderful representation of Fiveable. If you really need to be expressed, I'm going to keep grading, but there's Amanda's email if you really feel that concerned, Antonia. Amanda is the CEO of the company, by the way. Here we go. Grade me. 2 reasons why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is that there are multiple ethnicities and regions. In Canada, there are multiple ethnicities like European descent, Asian, and more. I like that. A nation-state is a state with a majority of 1 or more ethnic or cultural groups. This does not fit the definition of a nation-state because there are more than 1 ethnicity. Is this like a link? Oh, no. Okay. I see what happened there. So 1 out of 2 points so far. There are also a lot of different religions. There are like Christianity, Islam, and more. Canada is a multinational state rather than a nation state. Okay. I like the conclusion of that response. That response definitely earns 1 out of 2 points. But just like I said earlier, when you're talking about ethnic or cultural groups, religion tends to overlap with ethnicities. So especially when you think about things like the Holocaust, people treated Jewish as an ethnicity rather than a religion, and that's how they kind of separated them out as an ethnic group. So I don't love when you overlap religion with ethnicity, so you definitely get 1 out of 2 points, and it's a very strong 1 out of 2, but it's not perfect. So I only give it 1 out of 2. So grade me right here. 1 reason other than language why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is that Canada attracts immigrants from all over the world. For Canada to be a nation-state, its ethnic and demographic makeup would have to be primarily Canadian. Boom. Like that, definitely 1 out of 2 points. Another reason why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is that Canada has a diversified culture. Canada's large immigration status qualifies it for a diversified culture. Oh, for example, American culture has diffused into Canada. Okay. I like this response but the responses really overlap. Like, this is a weak 2 out of 2 or a strong 1 out of 2. So just because I'm feeling nice today, this one will get a 2 out of 2, but they're very much overlapping. And on the AP exam, you want to make your responses as distinct as they possibly can. Okay, let me see. Any other responses that say, okay, all of these say grade me. I really hope this is the last row because I do not have, okay, this is the last row. Thank goodness. Okay, I will grade all of these. Perfect. Okay, grade me, please. One reason why Canada does not fit the nation-state concept is because Quebec was colonized by France compared to the rest of the British colonized provinces. Because of this, the culture that was implemented first on the area was already significantly different. Perfect, 1 out of 2 points. Another reason why Canada does not fit the nation-state concept is because pieces of Canada are fragmented, such as Nunavut. This could lead to Nunavut being misrepresented and feeling less connected to the rest of the provinces. I love that, 2 out of 2 points, but I would say leading to de-evolution at the end of that sentence, just because you're referencing the political geography unit and the cultural unit. One reason why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is because the country was colonized by both the French and English. The areas occupied by different European groups established very different cultures, and they have a different history. The English and French regions have different cultural foods and many different cultural holidays. Okay, you don't need all of this because this is just a described question. Like, you're giving way too many examples for this part. So you get the 1 out of 2 points, but I'm just going to keep on reading. You don't need to write this much in the future, Sarah, for describe. But it's good information. So I do like it. And I'm never going to say no to giving more in-depth, but I am going to say no to giving too many responses. But this isn't too many responses. This is just going very much in-depth, which is good, but you don't need to do it to get the point. A second reason why Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is because of popular migration destination. There are many established migrant populations in Canada, including migrants and descendants of migrants from a different range of ethnicities. For example, there's a prominent Asian population. Boom, 2 out of 2 points, Sarah. Good job. And your second response was just short, but just long enough. Time to read Paris's response. Grade me harshly, please, and be honest. All right. I will grade as harsh as I can. One reason Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept is because there are many different people that come from many different nationalities, cultures, and backgrounds that aren't inhabitant Canada. Okay, I kind of like it, but I would like to see an example of a different nationality, like Chinese people in Vancouver, for example. Another reason is because it is fragmented. Because of this, Canada may not feel united as they could be, which could lead to de-evolution over time. Okay, I like his 2 out of 2 response, but I like to say it's a fragmented territorial morphology, or it's like a fragmented state, Paris. So you definitely get 1 out of 2, but since you want me to grade harsh, I'll only give you 1 out of 2. But you could earn 2 out of 2 for this if you gave an example of an ethnicity, nationality, culture, or background that isn't, native Canadian. So you definitely get 1 out of 2 points, but you could get 2 out of 2 points. But since you wanted to grade me hard, you wanted me to grade you harsh, I can do this. All right. The last response that I'm grading. Canada does not fit the modern nation-state concept because there are 2 official languages, which are French and English, therefore leading to 2 different cultures. The second reason is because Quebec has the French culture, while the rest of Canada has their own culture. For example, Quebec wanted to break away to Canada, leading to de-evolution. Okay, so this response only gets 1 out of 2 points because the 2, reasons aren't distinct enough. You're saying that French culture is French culture, but French language is a piece of French culture. So it's not distinct enough, so you definitely get 1 out of 2 points, and that could be 2 out of 2 points if you had the same amount of description, but with another response. Okay. AP readers will honestly grade about the level that I do. In the beginning on the community, I tried to grade you guys a little bit easier than, AP readers would, but now I'm getting more into the level. Okay, I'm sorry that I'm going over, guys. I know I am. I'm very aware of it. I'm trying to grade fast. That's why I'm talking really fast right now so I can get through as much as possible. You guys are free to leave whenever you want to. I'm not keeping you here captive. Like, you guys are not my hostages or something like that. But, I'm trying to get through as much as I can to grade all of you guys on this one. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. I see. I'm trying to read through the chat here again. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to read through this chat. Okay. Someone got Harrison started. Harrison is the best. Thank you, guys. But I was literally being serious, Antonia. If you want to email Amanda, you can. Like, I don't care. It will not bother me one bit. Amanda only teaches AP HuG right now, but she is qualified to teach AP World and AP US History. So she has taught AP World in the past, and sometimes she occasionally picks up 1 to 2 streams per year. But she usually teaches HuG for cram because we don't really have a dedicated human geography teacher that's like full-time Fiveable. Shreya, ooh, I like your name, Shreya. It's just like the other AP Human Geography streamer. So, can you please explain the difference between nation and ethnicity? The Princeton book confused me. Okay, no problem. So now I'm just going to be answering questions. You guys are free to put your questions in the Ask a Question section or chat or whatever, and I'll answer them. I can stay on basically until like 3 p.m. Eastern, but you guys can leave whenever you want to. So, a nation is basically just, it's a political geography term. So, it's basically a group of people who are in, a nation is basically like a group of people in the culture. So, culture and ethnicity are kind of like the overlapping words for the different, units. Because in the culture unit, we talk about ethnicity as what you define your, national background and what you define your culture as. And then, nation is more of an AP Human Geography political geography term. So I hope that helped you, Shreya. Mary, okay, thank you guys for defending me. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. No, you guys do not need to give me a 30% tip. You guys can have a virtual pizza party if you want to, but I have class to go to. Madison, I will induct you into the Cool Kid Crammer Club. I am way over time. Yes, I know. So Anna says the Philippines is a fragmented state, but it can still be considered a nation state. Yes, that's true. That is definitely true. It can be considered a fragmented state and a nation state at the same time, but the Philippines is one of the exceptions because the Philippines has a very ethnically concentrated background. Because the Spanish colonized the Philippines during the period of imperialism, and when the Europeans explored Southeast Asia and the islands, the Spanish colonized the Philippines for a really long time. The U.S. tried to get into the Philippines, but we couldn't. And even though the Philippines is fragmented, it's still considered a nation state because of the small land area that it has. And even though it is a fragmented state, it could still be a nation state because of its colonial history. And that's one of the things that teachers definitely try to analyze in Unit 4 is like the colonial history and neocolonialism and neolocalism in Units 3 and 4. So I really hope that helped you understand how a fragmented state can be a nation state, but usually it's going to be fragmented states are usually not going to be nation states. Like, look at this map of Canada right there. Look at all those islands at the top that are so far away from the capital. Let me use my mouse pointer. The capital of Canada is right here. This is the capital of Canada. Canada stretches all the way over here. This is Alaska, by the way. And it stretches all the way up here. Like, that is way more fragmented than the Philippines is, but you don't think of Canada as a fragmented state. Anjali says, I'll make sure to get a 1 and take the test again so we can get to hang out with. No, guys, just get a 5 on the test the first time. Maybe a Mandible stream for AP World next year. You never know. Okay. Just reading through you guys saying bye. Okay. So I'm going to go through the Ask a Question section now. I've kind of gone through the chat, so you guys can use the chat for whatever you want to now. Shreya says, Harrison, do you have any practice FRQ exams we can take? Yes, if you look at the slides, there are 2 more practice FRQs, and if you go to the community at Fiveable, there are AP HuG practice prompts that I'll grade. Okay, Kadhit says, I didn't earn my 20K point. Any solutions? I am on Fiveable and have been here for the full stream. Okay, email that I put in the chat earlier. I can put it in the chat again. Please don't spam the chat for a second so you guys can get this email. If you didn't get your Olympics points, email this email. Then I just put the chat. So I hope that helps you guys. You didn't get the points so far for the stream. Okay, Andrew asks a really, really good question, and I hope Andrew's still here to hear this. I'm so sorry that I went over. Yes, I know, and I'm just going to keep going if I still have more questions to do. So, can you quickly go over what they mean by cultural, economic, and social factors? Yes, this is one of the really important themes of human geography that isn't emphasized enough, and especially since this is an FRQ heavy exam, I would love to go over these with you guys. So I'm going to close out my pair deck, and I'm going to try to pull up I'm going to try to do something interesting here. I'm going to try to open up a publisher document and kind of make you a chart of different economic, political, social, all of that stuff. So when you see economic, you should mainly be thinking money and jobs, especially since you didn't go over a Unit 7. Okay, sorry, you guys are just talking about your practice FRQs. So for economic, you're always going to want to think jobs and money. Economic is jobs and money. Since you don't have a Unit 7, you guys don't have specifics on the economics unit. But for economics, always think money, jobs. For cultural, you're going to want to think about things like religion. You're going to want to think religion, ethnicity, the culture unit, basically for culture. For social, you're just going to think about things like, if you think about it for a unit 2 example, you're going to want to have to think about the things like, I can't even think. For social, you're going to want to think about like social hierarchy, equality of men and women. You're going to want to have to think about all sorts of different things like that. Okay. Qualities, women versus men, things like that. With political, you're going to want to think about laws, government, etc. Okay, it seems like a lot of you guys are leaving, so Shreya and I will definitely make sure to cover this on our cram chart in the 5-hour cram. And then, so bye guys. I will see you on Monday if you have a cram pass. If you don't, please buy the $5 thing. It will be a great purchase. Like I'm telling you. We'll make sure to go over cultural, economic, and social factors because those will definitely be referenced on your FRQ. Like it'll say give a positive cultural example of this on the country. So bye guys. Thank you so much for coming. I had 107 people here in total, so that was great. Thank you guys for coming, and I really hope you learned something today. And we're trying to make more trivia, but people have to write the trivia, so it kind of takes a while sometimes. But, bye guys. Thank you for coming. Check the resources link on this document if you go to the Fiveable stream pages that you're on, like probably around 7 p.m. today when I'm done with all my schoolwork for the week. I'll post the best responses from each of these FRQs that I can get back into on the Pear Deck. And then I'll make them a Google Doc so you guys can see it, so you guys can practice, because I know you guys wanted to do that last night, but Amanda didn't have the Pear Deck set up for that yet, but I set it up today. So, I hope that this was really helpful. I hope that you guys learned a lot, and bye. Thank you, guys.